I never thought my life would turn into one of those corporate thrillers you binge on Netflix. But here I am, spilling it all out. My name's Emily Hayes, and for the better part of a decade, I'd been the backbone of Harlan Renewables, a mid-sized outfit specializing in solar and wind projects across the western U.S. We started small in Denver, Colorado, back when Harlan Eldridge was just a rugged engineer with a dream and a beat-up pickup truck full of blueprints. I joined as his right-hand woman, handling everything from ops to compliance, turning chaos into clockwork. Harlan built the company on grit. Think dusty job sites in the Mojave Desert, late nights negotiating with ranchers in Wyoming for land leases. But as we grew, so did the family drama.
Harlan.
Jake was the wild card. Fresh out of some fancy MBA program at Stanford, he showed up one day in a sleek electric SUV, sporting designer jeans and that Silicon Valley swagger. No socks with his loafers. Of course, because why not scream? I'm here to disrupt from the get-go. I saw the red flags early. Jake started throwing around buzzwords like pivot to scalability and disruptive synergy in meetings, as if our hardworking crews installing panels in 110-degree Arizona heat needed more jargon. But I kept my head down, adapted. That's what you do in the West. Roll with the punches. Like a tumbleweed in a dust storm. The trouble brewed slowly. It started with little exclusions, coffee runs without an invite, new project channels on our collaboration app where my name was mysteriously absent. Jake brought in his buddies from business school to audit our workflows. One of them, a kid who looked like he'd never seen a toolbox, tried to lecture me on supply chain logistics for turbine deliveries across Nevada's backroads. I bit my tongue, fixed their half-baked ideas behind the scenes. I'd rebuilt our field reporting system from scratch after a big storm wiped out half our data in Utah, and I wasn't about to let some hotshot undo it. Harlan, bless his heart, was getting older. He'd founded the company after years in the oil fields, switching to renewables when he saw the writing on the wall. He trusted me implicitly. We'd shared barbecues at his ranch outside Denver, talk shop over craft beers. But Jake? He saw me as legacy baggage, a relic from Dad's era. I overheard him once at a company retreat in Aspen, whispering to his crew about streamlining the old guard. It stung, but I didn't confront him. Instead, I doubled down on my work, caught a vendor scam that saved us $500,000. Mediated a labor dispute with union guys in California before it hit the courts. Then came the bombshell meeting. It was in our Denver headquarters, a sleek building we'd expanded 5 years back with views of the Rockies. Harlan called it a senior ops sink, but the air felt thick, like before a monsoon rolls in from the plains. Jake sauntered in late, cream blazer slung over his shoulder, flashing that predatory grin. He tapped the smart screen, pulling up a deck titled Harlan Renewables 2.0 Next Gen Optimization. Harlan sat to his right, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him, his weathered hands folded like he was at a funeral. Jake clicked through slides of charts and memes. Yes, memes in a boardroom pitch. Agility, youthful momentum, generational shift, he droned. Then, without missing a beat, effective immediately, Dad's stepping back fully. I'll be taking executive control. No thanks to Harlan. No nod to the teams who'd braved wildfires in California or blizzards in Colorado. Just Jake, crowning himself king. The room went silent, quieter than a ghost town at midnight. His eyes locked on me. Emily will transition to back-office compliance and document oversight. Or, if she prefers, she's welcome to explore other opportunities. It landed like a gut punch from a rodeo bull. My heart hammered, but I didn't flinch. Eyes bored into the table.
Avoiding mine.
Harlan stared at his notes, jaw tight, saying nothing. I'd given 8 years to this place, sleepless nights during permitting battles in Oregon, personal guarantees on loans when banks balked.
Now,
I was being shunted to a cubicle, filing papers like some entry-level clerk. I stood slowly, smoothed my blouse. I'll gather my things. No drama.
no tears.
Jake's brow twitched, maybe disappointed I didn't beg. I walked out, boots echoing on the polished floors I'd helped design. Back at my desk, my nameplate was already loose. I packed quietly, my custom keyboard, personal drives, a mug from a family trip to the Grand Canyon. I left everything company-owned untouched. But before leaving, I did what I do best, documented. I opened my secure folder, drafted a notice citing my contract from the 2021 divestment, a chaotic time when we sold off underperforming assets in New Mexico. Buried in Section 6.4 was a clause I'd negotiated quietly. If my role was materially downgraded without cause or a performance plan, it triggered constructive dismissal under Colorado labor laws. Triple severance, vested equity, penalties. I attached logs, timestamps, even a discrete audio clip from the meeting mic I'd installed for compliance. I printed it, slipped it into an envelope, and placed it in Jake's desk drawer under his fancy fidget spinner. Then, at midnight, I self-offboarded via the HR portal I'd built, clean, irreversible. As I drove home through Denver's twinkling lights, a mix of rage and resolve washed over me. This wasn't just business, it was personal. But revenge? I'd let the law handle that. The next morning hit like a freight train through the Rockies. My phone buzzed nonstop, but I let it go to voicemail. First Jake at 9:05. Emily. Where are you? We need your Q3 forecasts ASAP. Then Slack pings forwarded to my personal email. By 9:30, Harlan's assistant was scheduling a follow-up sync like nothing happened. I sipped coffee in my kitchen, watching the sun rise over the Front Range, feeling oddly calm. What they didn't know was I'd vanished digitally hours ago. Using the offboarding checklist I'd created, I'd revoked my access, archived files with watermarks, set failsafes to alert auditors if anyone tampered. Meanwhile, my letter landed like a precision strike. Timed for 8 a.m. It hit the board's inboxes. Notice of constructive dismissal under Section 6.4. Polite. Factual. Recapped Jake's words. Attached my glowing reviews. Exceeds expectations across the board. Project logs showing I'd saved the company from regulatory fines in Nevada.
No emotion.
Just evidence. CC'd internal legal, the compensation committee, even a quiet BCC to the U.S. Department of Labor and an industry watchdog in Denver. Jake had flirted with one of their reps at a conference once. Bad move. I'd Googled her. By 10 a.m.,
Panic set in.
a text from a former colleague. Board's in emergency mode. Jake's flipping out overlocked files. I smiled faintly. He never read contracts deeply, always skimmed with his lawyer's red arrows. But I'd pored over every line during that 2021 mess, when Harlan was divesting to focus on wind farms in Wyoming. The clause was my insurance. Material role reduction without documented cause equals constructive dismissal. Legal in most states, but crystal clear under federal and Colorado guidelines. No retaliation.
No ambiguity.
Jake thought he could optimize me out like outdated software. But in the West, you don't underestimate the quiet ones. We're the ones who survive flash floods and market crashes. As calls piled up, I forwarded everything to my attorney, a sharp Denver-based labor specialist I'd consulted discreetly weeks ago. Let them stew, she said. You've got an airtight case. flashback to how it escalated. Months earlier, Jake started his purge. First, old-timer Mike from logistics, 30 years hauling gear through Utah canyons, got early retirement. Then Sarah from compliance was repositioned to data entry. Code for pink slip. I saw the pattern. Anyone reminding Jake he hadn't built this from scratch was out. Harlan watched passively, maybe too tired to fight his own blood. I'd prepared quietly. During an HR audit, I exported my records, no alarms raised. I was the compliance queen. Folders of kudos emails, like one from Harlan after I navigated a permitting snag in California. Emily, you're the glue holding us together. Shadow work logs of fixes I'd done off books, like rewriting Jake's botched marketing pitch that had wrong coordinates for our Phoenix yard. The letter was my masterpiece. 1 page. Footnotes galore. Quoted Jake verbatim. Showed 75% scope reduction. Cited the clause. I remain open to amicable resolution. I ended. No threats, just facts that could escalate to court, exposing Jake's nepotism hires and undocumented firings. By noon, legal reached out. We'd like to discuss. I deferred to my lawyer. Harlan called personally at 2 p.m. Voice heavy. Emily, this isn't how I wanted things. I listened. Heart twisting. He'd been like a mentor, sharing stories of his early days wildcatting in Texas before going green. But silence in that meeting? Unforgivable. As the day wore on, I reflected on the family angle. Harlan built this for Jake. But at what cost? Drama simmered, Jake's resentment of his dad's shadow. Harlan's guilt over absentee parenting during startup years. Me? Caught in the crossfire. But I wasn't going down without teaching a lesson. That evening, settlement talks began. They offered triple severance, vested stock, nearly 7 figures. But tacked on an NDA. I struck it out. No silence clause. My lawyer fired back. They folded. Discovery would reveal too much dirt. Like Jake's reckless cuts risking safety compliance on Wyoming sites. Money cleared in 48 hours. I felt vindicated, but hollow. Revenge tasted bittersweet, like cheap whiskey after a long trail ride. Harlan's signature on the equity release? A quiet nod. He knew Jake had screwed up. But as I unpacked in my cozy Denver home, I wondered, could there be redemption? Not full-blown, but a humane pivot. Maybe this shakeup forces growth. Weeks blurred into a haze of freedom and fallout. Without the daily grind of Harlan renewables, I hiked the trails around Boulder, clearing my head amid aspens turning gold. But echoes lingered, texts from ex-colleagues spilling tea, Jake scrambling, half the ops team is eyeing exits. The quarterly SEC filing dropped, burying my win on page 18, separation benefits under constructive dismissal. Section 6.4.
Due tu un justified reassignment.
Dry legalese.
But damning.
It screamed. We messed up. And it cost us big. A contact whispered the price tag neared $850,000. Jake's boardroom bravado cracked. Harlan reportedly chewed him out in private. Family drama amplified. Rumors of tense dinners at the Eldridge Ranch. Harlan lamenting how he'd enabled Jake's ego. I empathized a bit. Raising a kid in the shadow of success ain't easy in the competitive West, where bootstraps myths run deep. I fielded offers from consulting firms in Phoenix and Seattle. Outfits hungry for my expertise in renewable regs. But closure nagged. One crisp October morning, an envelope arrived, no courier fanfare. Just mail slot mundane. Harlan's handwriting. I failed to stand up. This wasn't right.
Beneath.
A highlighted equity authorization. His signature alone.
No jaque.
No legal fluff. It hit hard, not triumphant, but poignant. I drove to an overlook near Denver.
Pondering.
Revenge had worked. But at what human cost? Harlan's note sparked a shift. I emailed him. Let's talk. Off record. He agreed to meet at a neutral spot, a diner in Golden, Colorado, with views of the foothills. Harlan looked aged. Lines etched deeper. Emily. I let Jake run roughshod. Thought he'd learn on the job. Over coffee and pie. Truths tumbled. Jake's insecurity stemmed from Harlan's absences, missed games. Birthdays lost to deals. Harlan admitted enabling it. Fearing confrontation. You were family to this company, he said. Losing you woke me up. I share my side, the betrayal sting, but also gratitude for opportunities. No yelling, just raw dialogue. Like therapy in cowboy boots. Jake wasn't there, but Harlan promised changes, mentoring Jake properly. Reinstating vets. I didn't demand. It felt organic. Legally, I was set, but this mended the emotional rift. As we parted, Harlan hugged me awkwardly. Lesson learned, family business needs boundaries. Back home, I journaled, weaving mystery into reflection. What if Jake's power grab hid deeper fears? My revenge became a catalyst for their healing. I started a side gig advising startups on fair practices, turning pain into purpose. But twists lingered. A whistleblower tip from inside. Jake had cut corners on a California project, risking environmental fines. I debated escalating, but chose mercy, alerted Harlan anonymously. He fixed it quietly, averting disaster. Humane ending? Not perfect, but real. Harlan's confession opened floodgates. He spoke of regrets, divorcing Jake's mom amid startup stress, pushing Jake into business to carry the torch. Jake rebelled subtly, resenting the pressure. He saw you as a threat. Emily, someone Dad trusted more than him. It humanized Jake, not a villain, but a flawed son navigating legacy. I admitted my prep wasn't pure spite. I built those safeguards for the company, not just me. We brainstormed. Harlan could implement better governance, like independent board oversight. I offered informal advice, no strings. Days later, Jake called. Voice shaky. Emily, Dad told me everything.
I
Screwed up.
No excuses?
Just ownership. Thought I was innovating, but I bulldozed people. We talked an hour, him venting frustrations, me sharing war stories from early days.
No instant forgiveness.
But seeds planted. The lesson? In the vast Western landscape, isolation breeds drama, connection heals. My story wasn't revenge triumph, but growth arc. I declined rejoining, but consulted occasionally, fostering balance. Mystery element. An anonymous email revealed Jake's audit buddy had insider traded on our stock pre-reorg. I tipped regulators discreetly. Justice, without vendetta. Company cleaned house. Emerging stronger. As winter snow dusted the Rockies, my life reshaped. The settlement funded a sabbatical, trips to national parks in Utah, volunteering with environmental groups in Oregon. But the drama's undercurrents pulled me back. Harlan invited me to a family mediation session, therapists led at their ranch. Reluctant, I went, curiosity mixed with closure. Jake was there.
No blazer.
Just jeans and humility. Emily, I demoted you to prove I could lead. Stupid. Tears welled. Vulnerability cracked his facade. Harlan mediated. We all failed me most. We unpacked layers, my overlooked contributions, Jake's jealousy, Harlan's avoidance. It felt like peeling an onion in a therapy western, raw, eye-watering, healing. Post-session, Jake implemented changes, rehired vets, revamped HR with anti-nepotism policies. I advised on legal tweaks, ensuring clauses like mine protected all. Humane twist. Jake shadowed field crews in Arizona, learning grit firsthand. Changed my perspective, he admitted later. A plot turn. During mediation, Harlan revealed a hidden will clause, company shares for loyal execs upon his retirement. My dismissal voided it temporarily, but reinstatement talks arose. I declined ownership, suggesting employee stock options instead. Build loyalty, not resentment. Family bonds mended slowly. I joined a barbecue, awkward laughs, shared stories,
No veritade.
but progress. Lesson light. In business families, communication trumps control. Underestimate loyalty at your peril. Mystery deepened when I uncovered old emails. Jake's audit was a smokescreen for a shady investor push. I confronted gently. He confessed. Cut ties. Company thrived post-cleanup. My narrative closed with reflection. Revenge sparked justice. But empathy forged peace. In the West's wide-open spaces, room exists for second chances. The ranch sprawled under starry skies. Cattle lowing in distance. Therapist guided. Jake. What drove the demotion? Fear I'd fail without changes. Harlan. I projected my dreams on you. Me. Felt discarded. But I see the human side now. Post. Jake emailed apologies to affected staff. I mentored him remotely on ops. Harlan retired partially, focusing on philanthropy, solar for underserved communities. I started writing a book, Corporate Cowboys, Navigating Family Drama in Renewables. Subtle lesson. Balance ambition with humanity. Spring brought renewal, mirroring our arc. Harlan Renewables rebranded ethically, crediting team input. Jake led humbly, crediting my influence in interviews. Learn from a pro, he said at a Denver conference. I launched Hayes Consulting, advising Western firms on fair labor, drawing clients from Texas to California. Personal life bloomed, reconnected with old friends, even dated a fellow hiker. Final twist, a board vote reinstated my honorary role, advisor.
No strines.
I accepted, attending meetings virtually. Family dinners became norm. Jake's wedding included me as aunt. The humane end, no villains. Just growth. Lesson. In life's drama, revenge may ignite change, but compassion sustains it. Like the resilient West, storms pass. Horizons clear. Looking back, that meeting wasn't an end, but a pivot. I turned betrayal into betterment, proving strength lies in strategy and heart. At the conference, Jake spotlighted. Emily taught me, people over profits. Applause echoed. Harlan beamed. My book excerpt. In the shadow of mountains, families and firms rise or fall on trust. Monologue. I could have burned bridges, but built them stronger. That's the real win. Human connection in a cutthroat world.